Hey everybody, it's Wraith. Today I wanted to go ahead and just talk about love. I mentioned in my beauty video that I was going to be touching on that. So I think I'm actually going to start off with why I chose to do that. And part of the reason I chose to address that I was going to be doing this video in the beauty video is because I think nowadays, especially in my generation and under, a lot of people are swapping out love for what in reality is actually lust. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people, they see someone they're physically attracted to and they're like, oh, that's love at first sight. I love that person. I want to be with that person. And wanting to be with someone and loving them are not the same thing. A lot of people will date people and then just ditch them and feel nothing about it. I feel like if you truly love someone, that you don't just forget them. That feeling doesn't just go away. You may suppress it, but it's still always going to be there for that person. Um, I just feel like nowadays love is becoming more, true love, anyways, is becoming more and more of a rare thing. Wanting to be with someone, although is good, and if you love someone, you are going to want to be with them, there's so much more to it than that. Um, See, in the Christian community, people refer to it as agape love, that sort of selfless love of wanting to do something for them just because you want to see them happy, or just because you can, I guess, is a good way of putting it. I mean, because even wanting to make them happy can still be a selfish thing. Because you can look at them and be like, I want to make them happy so one day they'll repay the favor, or something like that. And so even something done for a good reason can have a selfish reason behind it. Um, I don't know. I've often found, at least in my life, that love is a very hard thing. Finding if you actually love someone, if they actually love you back, um, just things like that. A lot of people think that when you find that person you love, it's going to be smooth sailing, easy life from that point on, and that's just not true at all. Especially from what I've experienced, love is deeply painful in many ways. Um, you're going to face hardships, and true love will survive that. I haven't experienced that in my life, honestly. Not, I mean, at least in a romantic way. Right now, I'm just talking about romantic love. I can talk about familial love in a second. We'll get to that. But right now, I'm just looking at romantic love. I actually had a Facebook page for a little bit. I still technically do, but I don't really do anything with it, devoted to chivalry. And I feel like love and chivalry are closely linked. A lot of people say chivalry is dead. I do not consider chivalry dead. Honestly, nowadays, at least from my generation and down, part of me feels like love is dead. But again, I think chivalry is an integral part of love. So the fact that I do not consider chivalry dead, just dying, I feel like if we can reignite that spark of chivalry, that true love, real love can come back. Now, I've seen people who truly have strong feelings towards people and care about them a lot. I don't know if I consider that the same thing as love either. Um, Honestly, I've become pessimistic of love over the years just because of the amount of hardship I've faced in regards to it, the amount of heartbreak that I've felt. But I don't want to say that everyone has to share in my pessimism of love. Like, honestly, I do believe my parents love each other, um, things like that. So there are people out there I feel like love each other, just no one in my generation I honestly feel like truly loves another person outside of maybe family. Um, and again, I feel like in a familial way, there's always going to be some sort of love for your family. You could really dislike a member of your family, but you're still going to have that inherent love for them because they share blood with you. Um, Especially with parents to kids, kids to parents, things like that. Under normal circumstances, unless you live in a really broken home, it is possible to not love your parents. I believe that's true. It shouldn't be true, and I'm not going to say it's either side's fault. It depends on the family. There are going to be cases where the parents are truly terrible people to their kids and therefore the kids don't love them. Maybe the kids are truly terrible to their parents and that's why there's no love there. But overall, I feel like there should be love in that relationship. That's sort of the point of relationships. When all other love, when the romantic love dies, you're left heartbroken, crying on a bed, whatever. Your family, parents, etc., are going to be there to help you through it, help pick you up, or at least that's how it ought to be. That being said, as for my opinion of love, again, I love my family, I do. And I always turn to them when I'm really in hard times. Well, let me correct that. I don't always, but I know I can. That just sort of goes into my psyche of I have a hard time reaching out to people when I'm hurting. A lot of times I hide it. I bury my pain just because I've had hardships of people that I thought people that I loved, or at least felt I loved, and that I thought loved me, who I would reach out to when I was hurting, and they would get mad at me about it. And it happened a fair amount of times, and because of that, I sort of buried all of my pain. And it's led to me having something I consider a volcanic personality. So, like, I have something bad happen to me, I bury it. I get angry, I direct that anger at myself instead of other people because I became afraid of my anger. And it just led to the point that I was suppressing so much anger that one person would do the dumbest thing and it would just set me off, and all of that repressed anger would just burst forward even though they didn't deserve it. Obviously not a healthy way of doing it. Don't recommend it. As far as whether or not you should pursue love, I don't think it matters if you feel you should or shouldn't. I feel part of the human emotion is going to seek love whether you want to or not. Like for me, for instance, I honestly do not want love. I feel like it's too painful. It's too challenging, if not impossible, to find the right person. So I'm honestly not seeking it. I don't want it. I feel like it would cause more harm than good. That being said, there's a part of me that still yearns for that connection with someone. There's a part of me still looking, despite how much I, logically don't want to be searching for anybody. I don't want to put myself out there. There's a part of me that every time I start to connect with someone thinks, hey, maybe this person could be the one. Maybe I should try and reach out to them. But I use my logic centers to pretty much try and crush that. A lot of people do dating websites and things like that. I feel like if I'm meant to find someone, I will meet them in my real life. In my personal life, I'll meet them face to face, in other words. I honestly, me personally, I don't feel like it's going to happen for me. I don't think that that's the case for everyone. I think it is entirely possible for people to meet people that they're going to love. That being said, I've had people ask me before, and I've asked people before, if there's someone for everyone. And scientifically speaking, mathematically speaking, I don't think that's possible. Because unless you take polygamy into account, unless you take the various sexualities into account, and I'm not going to get into that because I don't really want to tread that very controversial ground, but for me personally, just in a nutshell, I do not believe there's someone for everyone. I do believe there are some people who are meant to live alone, and I believe there are people who can do that happily. They can live their life alone and be completely happy doing that. I want to be one of those people. I'm trying to be one of those people, but there's a part of my mind that's still yearning for that connection. And in my case, I'm not even really looking necessarily for someone to love in that sense. I'm more looking for someone who I can just talk with at length about the problems of the world, my problems, their problems, things like that. And I think I would be happy with that. But I can't help but wonder if I were to reach that point with someone, if that would end up turning into love. Now, sort of going back to what I was talking about, love at first sight. I believe love at first sight is lust. I believe that is just being physically attracted to someone. That being said, I think it is entirely possible that that love at first sight, that lust, that initial lust towards someone, can turn into love. I feel like that love at first sight thing is looking at someone saying, wow, they look really cool. I'd like to get to know them. And it's that wanting to get to know them that can lead to the love. Because if you just see them at a glance and you're like, I love that person, that's not love. That's just being physically attracted to someone. But once you get to know them, once you take time, you spend time with them, that's what can lead to love. And I honestly do believe that we can help bring back what actual love is. It's going to take time, it's going to be hard, and it's going to have to break a lot of stigmas in the world right now. Because a lot of people are just looking to self gratify. What can I get from you? What can you give me? And to a certain extent, we're willing to barter, as it were. If you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And even if we don't do it consciously, we do that a lot, where it's like, well, I'm going to go do this for you, and subconsciously, part of you is going, but if I ever ask for the same, I'll expect it. Even if you don't consciously make that choice, a lot of people will do that. And it's going to take a lot of effort to try and break from that mold of, I'm going to do this for you. But when the time comes, if I want it, it's okay if you're not comfortable doing that or if you don't want to do that. Now, obviously, there's going to be give and take. You're going to have to want to sort of mutual benefits. But it should come naturally. It shouldn't be something that you have to press for, something that you have to try and pry from them, something like that. I feel like if you truly love someone and that person truly loves you back, that there's going to be just sort of this natural occurrence of truly selfless compassion, care, and love for one another. I've seen a lot of people who said they loved each other, but they got angry with each other so often. I've had this happen. My last relationship, I think it started off as what I would classify as love, but over time I began to expect certain things, and expecting anything is wrong, in my opinion, when you're looking at love. I feel like you should accept them as they are, and sure, you can want certain things from them, and you can even acknowledge that you want them. You can tell them that you want certain things from them, but don't expect it. Don't be like, you have to do this because you love me, you should do this. It shouldn't be like that. Your love shouldn't be an ultimatum. I feel like a lot of people will start dating someone, see a side of them they weren't expecting, and be like, well, you need to change that or we're not really in love. Then you were never in love in the first place. So, I don't know. I just feel like nowadays love has become very skewed. It's become a very physical thing for a lot of people. You make love with someone. So a lot of people apply that to being in love with someone, and it's not the same thing. Love is not the physical act. It's not the physical attractiveness to someone. There's so much more to it that I couldn't even begin to try to describe. It's one of those things that if you truly love someone, you just know it deep down that you're willing to do anything for them, even if they're not willing to do the same. But if it's true love, there will be that mutual thing where they feel the same way about you. I haven't found that yet. I find it hard to believe that I'm going to. I know that's very pessimistic, but I'm just being honest. I do believe it exists out there. I've honestly lost a lot of faith in love from what love has done in my life. But I am still I'm okay. I'm not saying that this is like tearing me up. It used to. It honestly used to. I felt like I needed to find someone to love or I would just die. Like, honestly, part of me felt like I was going to die if I didn't find it. I've now gotten over that. Yes, part of me really wants that love, but the majority of me does not. Because I feel like that love that I have had in the past has just torn me asunder. I feel like the love I've had in the past has been an overall negative impact on me, so I no longer seek love. There's a movie, The City Slickers, where one of the characters, Do not remember his name off the top of my head. I knew it a second ago, and now that I'm trying to think of it, it slipped my mind. Anyways, he had a line in the movie that really struck me on a personal level, because one of the main characters, Curly, I think his name was, one of the main characters asked him, "Were you ever in love?" And he said, "Once." And he started telling this story about how he saw this woman, and again, it's sort of the love at first sight thing. And he commented on, "Well, what did you do? Did you go get her? Did you go marry her?" And he went, "No, I took my oxen and I rode away." And initially, he's like, "Oh, well, you knew what you wanted, that's great." And then he's like, "Well, no, that's not great. That could have been love." See, even he acknowledges at that point that what he had there was not love. Because his next sentence is, "That could have been love." Which means he acknowledged that there was that physical attraction that could have led to love when pursued, when trying to get to know the person. But it wasn't at that point. But what really struck me in the scene is what Curly, I think his name is again, that's what I'm going to call him anyways. His next line is, he said, "Maybe, but that was my choice. And the reason he did it," and I quote, is, "I figured that was as good as it was going to get." And I honestly, again, this sort of goes back to the beauty video, I feel like that a lot of times. When I see beauty, I like to admire it and then go on my way. Well, maybe it could have been love. Maybe it could have. I honestly feel like if it was meant to be love, something would have stopped me from walking away. But the way I am right now, I honestly, part of me feels like I'm not ready for love. Someone might disagree with me. Doesn't matter. I don't feel like I'm ready for it. When I am, it'll go from me appreciating that beauty, admiring that beauty for a moment and moving on, to eventually someone will come to me. I feel like, see, a lot of people think it should be the guy who reaches out to the woman for love. I'm not going to do that. I've been burned too many times, so I'm going to wander in life, and if anyone ever approaches me in that sense, then we may be able to see where it goes from there. But for now, I'm just going to admire the beauty, and I'm going to walk on, because that's as good as it's going to get for me. And I'm going to be completely content in that, honestly, because there's a ton of beauty in the world, both in people, in places, in things, in music, things like that. So I've got plenty of beauty to keep me satisfied for now, as creepy as that sounds, but you know what I mean. So I feel like if I am meant to be with someone, that person will come along and it'll just happen. Like, I've had people that I fell in love with in the past, where I wasn't looking for love, and I don't think they were either. And it was one of those things that in a couple of the cases I was actually avoiding love, but it was one of those things where I just started talking to them and it just clicked, and I talked with them for hours, not even trying to. And I feel like if I'm meant to be with someone, that'll happen again in the future, where I'll be avoiding trying to get that close to them, but it'll happen without my trying to. Even with me trying to avoid it, it'll happen anyways. That's how I feel it'll be. So this video's gotten kind of into a couple of different topics, gone in a couple different directions. It's been probably a bit more pessimistic than it should have been, but honestly, I don't see my point of view as entirely pessimistic. I used to think love was evil, and there was no good in it, and I didn't want it, and I honestly, at this point, I still don't want it. But I have a much more accepting view of other people who are in love, or who are searching for love, or things like that. I think love is truly a good thing. I just think at this juncture, it's not for me. And I do want to see more love in the world, more true love, because I'm tired of seeing people who are talking about how, oh, they feel so strongly towards someone. They'll say they love this person, but they're sleeping with so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. That's not love. There's nothing about that that's love. That's you just lusting after like 20 different people. And that's not love. That's not how you should treat people. So I just want to see more of that true love towards one person that you hold deep in your heart. And I just want to see more chivalry, more true love, both familial and romantic. And I think the world would be a better place for it. Anyways, that's all I've got to say about that for right now anyways. I appreciate you taking the time to come watch this video. If you liked it, feel free to hit the like button. If you want to be kept up to date with when I release new content, feel free to hit the subscribe button. If you know other people who would enjoy this content or agree with this content, feel free to share it. It helps the channel grow also, which I appreciate. And as always, I want to hear your opinions too, so post in the comments below if you agree, if you disagree, what your opinions are. Just let me know what you think. As always, I want to try and get a conversation going in the comments. So yeah, I again appreciate you coming by to watch the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.